Hi, my name's Chiril. I'm 29, the youngest of three siblings. This isn't an easy story to tell, but it's the one that changed everything I believed about family, loyalty, and love. It begins with the death of my mom and how I stood alone at her funeral while my sisters were sipping cocktails in Hawaii. My mom wasn't perfect, but she was always all I had. She raised us on her own after our dad walked out when I was in middle school. We grew up in a small Indiana town. She worked double shifts, sometimes even weekends, just to keep the lights on and get us through school. My sisters, Rachel and Monica, yes, like the show Friends, were always the stars of the family. They moved out, went to college on the coasts, built their high rise lives in LA and New York. They visited less and less. Eventually, our family group chat turned into something I just read silently. Meanwhile, I stayed. I drove mom to doctor's appointments. I cleaned up after her strokes. I spoon fed her when her hands couldn't hold steady. I was the one sitting at her bedside that final night. Her voice was weak, but she reached for my hand and said, "Thank you, sweetheart. You're the only one who still sees me." When she passed, I called Rachel and Monica immediately. Rachel texted, "Ugh, this is literally the worst timing. We just booked our trip to Maui." Monica replied, "Yeah, if you're going to live stream the funeral or something, just send me the link. We'll light a candle from here." They didn't come. Not even a flower delivery. Meanwhile, they were posting sunny beach pics on Instagram. Rachel was holding a pina colada with the caption, "Healing, hashtag vacation vibes." I stood at the funeral alone. A few neighbors came, an old friend of mom's from church, but not my sister's. I gave the eulogy myself. I read her favorite poem with a shaky voice. I placed the white rose on her coffin, alone. A week later, I was called into the lawyer's office to read the will. Rachel and Monica showed up via Zoom, barefaced, clearly just rolled out of bed. Sipping lattes like this was a meeting they'd rather skip. The lawyer opened a brown folder, cleared his throat, and said, "As per the last will and testament of your mother, all assets, her house, her savings, her land, and life insurance are left to Rill." The room went completely silent. Rachel blinked, then immediately disconnected from the call. Monica shouted, "What the hell? This has to be a mistake. She was sick, heavily medicated." The lawyer calmly pulled out a letter, handwritten, folded with care. "To my youngest, Chiril, you stayed. You cared. You saw me when I felt invisible. This is not about money. It's about love and acknowledgement. Don't feel guilty for receiving this. You deserve it." I sat there frozen, the letter still in my hand. For a second, I expected someone to burst through the door and say it was all a mistake, that this wasn't really happening. But it was. That night, my phone exploded with messages. Rachel sent me 10 texts in a row, each angrier than the last. "You manipulated her. You took advantage while we weren't around. This is literally elder abuse." And my favorite one, "Give us our share, or we'll see you in court." I didn't reply. I couldn't. I sat in mom's old recliner, the one that still smelled faintly like her lavender lotion, and I cried. Not because I felt victorious or rich or even vindicated. I cried because this wasn't what she would have wanted. She didn't do this to hurt them. She did it because she felt forgotten by them. I spent the next few weeks sorting through her things. I found old letters she'd written but never sent, journals, grocery lists with my name circled beside her notes, buy Chiril's favorite tea. I found a shoebox filled with pictures of the three of us as kids, cut out from old albums as if she'd planned to make something for us one day. And then, tucked inside her Bible, was a sealed envelope with my name on it. Inside was a photo of me and her from when I was maybe 7, both of us laughing, her arms wrapped tight around me. On the back, she had written, "You gave me more than anyone else ever did. You gave me your time." I didn't know how to carry all that grief, or the guilt, or the anger at my sisters. Because the truth is, part of me wanted to send them screenshots of that letter. Part of me wanted to scream, "You abandoned her, and now you're angry because she noticed?" But I didn't. I stayed quiet. I kept the house, and I started sleeping in mom's old bedroom because somehow it made me feel like she was still there. About a month later, they showed up, unannounced. It was a rainy Saturday, and I was in the middle of repainting the kitchen cabinets when I heard the knock. When I opened the door, Rachel and Monica stood there, drenched from the rain, dressed in designer coats, holding Starbucks cups like they were props. Rachel didn't even wait for a greeting. So this is what betrayal looks like, she said, stepping inside without permission. Monica followed, brushing past me like I was the maid. You really think this is fair? She asked. Mom must have been manipulated. There's no way she'd cut us out unless someone poisoned her mind. I just stood there, not because I didn't have 1,000 things to say, but because my body went numb, like the air had turned thick. They started pacing the living room, looking at the walls like they were judging the paint color. Rachel turned sharply toward me. We're getting a lawyer. We already spoke to someone. There's still time to contest the will. I blinked. Contest what? I asked quietly. She wrote it in her own hand. She was of sound mind. I didn't take anything. Monica scoffed. You didn't take it? Cheryl, come on. You had months alone with her. You don't think that influenced her? My voice cracked. You mean the months where I bathed her, carried her to the toilet, watched her cry because she missed you both? That stopped them for a second. Rachel looked away. Monica's eyes narrowed, but she didn't speak. I kept going, my voice shaking. She asked about you. Every single week, she wanted to know if you were coming for Thanksgiving, if maybe you'd call her on her birthday, and when you didn't, she still made excuses for you. They're busy, honey. They have their lives. Don't be mad at them. They were quiet now, and I hated that part of me still wanted them to say something, anything, that made it make sense. Monica finally muttered, She didn't even try to call me in the last few months. I stared at her. She did. You just never picked up. Rachel's jaw clenched. You're not better than us. I never said I was, I replied. I just stayed. They left without another word. No hug, no apology, just the sound of the door slamming as they disappeared into the rain. The house felt heavier after they left, not quieter, just denser, like the walls were holding their anger, their denial, their guilt. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept pacing, replaying every word they said. You really think this is fair? She must have been manipulated. We're getting a lawyer. The next morning, I got the email. Subject, legal notice of intent to contest will. It was from a firm in Chicago. Apparently, Rachel's new boyfriend was a junior partner there. Figures. I forwarded it to Mom's estate lawyer, Mr. Lowell, a patient, quiet man in his 60s who used to bring my mom cookies during her appointments. He called me immediately after reading it. Don't worry, he said. Your mother was thorough. Everything was notarized. She even recorded a video message. I blinked. A video? Yes, she asked us to record it, just in case this happened. It's time-stamped and witnessed. She wanted it included in her file. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Mom had known. She'd known they would fight it. She'd known what kind of daughters she'd raised, but she'd also known me well enough to protect me from them, even after death. A few days later, Mr. Otto Lowell invited me to view the video before he submitted it to the court. It was simple. Just Mom, sitting in his office, wearing her favorite scarf, the purple one with embroidered daisies. She looked tired, her skin was pale, her eyes slightly sunken, but her voice was clear. If you're watching this, it means my daughters are upset, and to them I want to say, I love you, all three of you. But love doesn't mean blindness. Cheryl stayed when you left. She gave me dignity when I had none left. She didn't ask for anything, so I give her everything, not out of spite, but out of gratitude. She paused, her lips trembling. And Rachel, Monica, if you're angry right now, ask yourselves, what did you actually give me in the end? Was it time? A phone call? A visit? A prayer? You chose your distance. I just honored it. She smiled faintly at the camera. Goodbye, girls. I hope one day you forgive me and yourselves. The screen went black. I sat in the lawyer's office, completely still. The video ended nearly 5 minutes ago, but I couldn't move. I could still hear her voice, that calm steadiness. The way she said, you chose your distance. I just honored it. I asked Mr. Lowell to send me a copy, not for legal defense, just to have. I wanted to keep that part of her voice, her clarity, her truth. The legal process began quickly. Rachel and Monica filed a formal challenge in probate court. Their claim? Undue influence and lack of mental capacity. Even after watching the video, they insisted Mom wasn't in her right mind. It would have been insulting if it weren't so pathetic. They even dug up one of Mom's old doctors to try and say she had signs of early dementia. But Mr. Lowell shut that down hard, with medical records, psychological evaluations, and a second witness, Mom's church friend, Miss Gale, who visited her every Wednesday and testified under oath that Mom was sharper than anyone at Sunday bingo. But while the legal fire burned, something else surfaced, something I hadn't expected. It started with a creaking floorboard in the hallway closet. I was organizing old coats to donate when I noticed the wood panel beneath my feet shifting. I knelt down, pulled it up, and there it was. A locked metal box, dusty, heavy, the kind you'd expect to see in an old detective movie. And taped to the top was a yellowed envelope with my name written in Mom's handwriting. Inside the envelope was a single line. If you're opening this, then it's finally time. The truth is here. Use it only if you have to. My hands were shaking as I turned the tiny key still taped behind the note. Inside the box were three things: a thick manila folder labeled 1979 M. Stevens, personal, private, a stack of photographs, most of them black and white, and at the very bottom, a birth certificate. But not mine. The name on it wasn't familiar, but the mother's name listed? Margaret Stevens, my mom. And under father, name withheld. I sat on the hallway floor for what felt like an hour. Something inside me shifted. This wasn't just about money anymore, or inheritance, or fairness. Mom had been carrying something, hiding something. And maybe the fallout between her and Rachel and Monica didn't start with distance. Maybe it started with a secret, one that had been buried long before any of us were born. That night, I spread the contents of the box across the dining table. The folder was packed with letters, most of them handwritten, signed only with the initials DR. They spanned years. Some pages were tear-stained. Some were angry. Some heartbreakingly tender. The photos showed a man I'd never seen before. Tall, sharp suit, always looking away from the camera. Sometimes he was with Mom, young, maybe 21, smiling like she didn't know how heavy life could get yet. I skimmed the documents. At first, I thought this was about an old lover. But then I saw a letter dated February 1980, written to a judge. My mom was fighting for custody, and that birth certificate, it belonged to a child that was taken from her. There was no name listed for the child, just baby Stevens on hospital records. But tucked behind one of the photos was a small slip of paper. It read, "He was adopted by another family. I was told never to contact him, but I kept everything, just in case he ever came back." My breath caught. I had a brother none of us ever knew about. Suddenly, so many things made sense. Why Mom never spoke much about her early 20s. Why she was so fiercely protective, yet always carried a grief she couldn't explain. Why she seemed to favor me, not out of preference, but because I was the one who never left her. I never told Rachel or Monica about what I found. Maybe I will someday. Maybe not. They never came back after that court case. In the end, the judge ruled in my favor. The will stood as it was. They unfollowed me on everything. No calls, no more emails, just silence. I still live in the house. It's quiet, peaceful. Sometimes I catch myself listening for Mom's voice, especially when I'm cooking or folding laundry. Sometimes I find her in the smallest things, her handwriting on old recipe cards, her perfume still lingering in the hallway closet. And sometimes I wonder about him. Where he is, if he looks like her, if he ever thinks about the woman who tried so hard to hold on to him. But mostly I think about what she gave me, not just the house or the money or the words in her will. She gave me everything she never got herself: her time, her truth, her trust. And in the end, I wasn't left with just an inheritance. I was left with a story, one I'll carry for the rest of my life.